This is a wing that was born out of combat necessity.
Its big thing is endurance. It's a very fuel-efficient aircraft, so with a full load of fuel, it can stay up for 20, 21 hours.
And the enemy has no place to hide because of the unblinking eye that we have on them from right here at Creech. Hunters, deliver justice.
The MQ-9 Reaper. Today, we're going inside it. The technology, the weapons, and the people who operate it. This is Hardpoint Military. We're a new channel covering military aviation the way it deserves to be covered. If that sounds like your kind of content, subscribing helps us grow. The Reaper didn't appear from nowhere. It's the direct evolution of the MQ-1 Predator, that first aircraft that proved what a remotely piloted platform could do in real combat. The MQ-9 took everything the Predator established and scaled it. More fuel, more weapons, more range, more capability across the board.
So my name is Master Sergeant Thomas Anderson out of the 174th. I'm an FTD instructor for weapons. I instruct on the MQ-9 aircraft right now. This is basically the newest iteration of the drone program, starting back with the MQ-1s, rolled into the MQ-9s, kind of the future. A lot of things are going to this. No threat to the pilot, high endurance.
High endurance is the defining characteristic of this platform. Not speed, not stealth, endurance. The ability to stay over a target area for hours at a time, while manned aircraft would have to cycle back to refuel, is what makes the Reaper operationally unique.
It can stay in the air a long time, so there's a lot of benefit to that. Its big thing is endurance. It's a very fuel-efficient aircraft, so with a full load of fuel, it can stay up for 20, 21 hours. And the nice thing with the pilots being in a GCS on the ground, they can just swap out as needed, so you don't have to worry about fatigue. Main missions are ISR. It can do attack missions as well, because it has a ground mapping radar in there. And they can do a lot of different things with that. It can target moving targets. And with that, we call it over the horizon. In other words, obviously the pilot can be here or in Pennsylvania and fly anywhere in the world.
That last detail is worth sitting with. A pilot at a ground control station in Nevada or Pennsylvania or anywhere with a satellite uplink can be actively flying a mission on the other side of the planet. The aircraft and the crew are never in the same location.
There are two main types of communications on an MQ-9 aircraft. You have Ku-band and C-band communications. C-band is a direct line-of-sight communication, and Ku-band is a satellite communication.
Two separate communication systems make that possible. C-band handles shorter range operations where the ground station has a direct line to the aircraft. Ku-band is the satellite link. That's what enables worldwide operations regardless of distance. Having both systems gives crews flexibility based on mission requirements and where they're operating. Communications is one half of what makes this platform effective. The sensor suite is the other.
What makes the MQ-9 so unique is that we can use the sensor or the multispectral targeting system and multiple different cameras and full motion video to find and finish our targets.
The multispectral targeting system gives crews the ability to locate a target, confirm it across multiple sensors, track it for however long the mission requires, and if the authorization comes down, engage it. All of that from a single integrated sensor ball mounted under the nose. That brings us to the weapons load, where the Reaper separates itself from a pure surveillance platform.
It has 4 stations that are weaponized. It has a total of 6 stations on the wings. There are 2 more outboard stations they could use, but those are for like special mission pods and sensors and things like that. But it does have 4 weapon stations. A lot of new capabilities coming with that, but right now it can carry the Hellfire missile, which a lot of people are familiar with that. It can carry 500-pound GPS-guided bombs, also laser-guided bombs, and soon we're getting a small diameter bomb, which is a new capability. They have a really large standoff range, so they can drop. The bomb can go like another 100 miles and hit the target, so the aircraft doesn't even have to go near the danger zone, so to speak.
That small diameter bomb capability is a significant development. A standoff range pushing towards 100 miles means the aircraft can put ordnance on target while staying completely outside most threat envelopes. The Reaper never has to go near whatever it's engaging. On the flight line, the weapons troop is responsible for making all of that possible.
As a weapons troop, my job is to maintain the weapons system and to load bombs and missiles. The MQ-9 is capable of carrying up to 4 500-pound bombs or 4 Hellfire missiles. In the dome, we have the mission control module, which is the brain of our weapons system. It supplies power to all of our pylons so that we can fire our munitions.
Before we move into the airframe, what aspect of the MQ-9 surprised you most so far? Drop it in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, sharing this video with someone who'd appreciate it genuinely helps us reach more people like you. The airframe itself has some engineering decisions worth understanding, starting with the engine configuration.
So our aircraft uses a rear-mounted engine. It's a pretty standard, it's a Honeywell turboprop engine. The same motor is used on a lot of civilian aircraft as well, but usually it's the other way around, facing forward, so we kind of gotta divert, air comes in, goes through the motor this way, and then diverts back out the back. It does have advantages to mounting it on the rear like this. For one, the prop doesn't obscure your camera view in the front, and then also, as the prop's spinning, the exhaust is going over the prop, so it's de-icing the prop, and then also the prop is dissipating your heat signature, so you're not as visible.
I'm a crew chief on this aircraft, and I'll be sharing a fun fact of the engine. It is a TPE 331-10, which stands for turboprop engine. It produces about 900 horsepower and has a cruising speed of 200 knots. And a fun fact about this engine is it is similar to a C-130 engine, but it has been flipped upside down and backwards. So as you see, the exhaust is on top and the propeller is pushing the aircraft.
Rear-mounted pusher configuration isn't a quirk. No propeller in front means nothing obstructing the camera view. Exhaust flowing back over the prop helps de-ice it in cold environments, and the spinning prop disperses the heat signature rather than concentrating it. These are deliberate choices, every one of them made with sensor effectiveness and survivability in mind. The hardware is half the story. The MQ-9 requires an entire crew, and every person in that chain has to execute for the mission to work. Creech Air Force Base in Nevada is the operational hub for RPA missions in the Air Force. The 432nd Wing there was built around this mission set from the ground up. It grew out of real combat requirements, and it has been refining the way remotely piloted aircraft operate ever since. The operational side runs through Creech. The formal training pipeline runs through Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico, where the 49th Wing runs both F-16 and MQ-9 qualification programs for the Air Force.
I'm Colonel Ryan Keeney, commander of the 49th Wing at Holloman Air Force Base, New Mexico.
And I am Chief Master Sergeant Tom Temple, 49th Wing Command Chief. Following retirement of the F-117 in 2008, Holloman received the F-22 Raptor and began training remotely piloted aircrew in the MQ-1 Predator and MQ-9 Reaper in 2009. Due to the combined fighter and RPA training missions, on June 25th of 2010, the 49th Tactical Fighter Wing was redesignated as the 49th Wing.
On October 1st, 2018, the 49th Wing was realigned to AETC, and since then we have trained more than 1,900 operationally ready F-16 Viper and MQ-9 Reaper pilots and sensor operators for the Combat Air Force.
Our mission partners have also achieved historic milestones of their own, like testing the first supersonic weapon release and innovative hypersonic testing at the Department of Defense's premier high-speed test track facility.
Team Holloman continues to sharpen the spear of our national defense, training alongside our sister services across 3 geographically separated locations and directly supporting 5 Air Force major commands.
We are proud to be part of the 1st Command, the place where air and space power begins.
We are the Fighting 49ers, and we build the backbone of combat air power for the United States Air Force.
The 49th Wing also holds a distinction that's unique in Air Force history. It's the only operational unit to have flown 2 different stealth aircraft, the F-117 Nighthawk and the F-22 Raptor, both called Holloman home. The MQ-9 program sitting alongside that legacy is a reflection of where the service places remotely piloted aviation in the broader force structure. The platform is not standing still.
They're not as visible. You can tell they're putting a lot of resources into making it better. It's getting easier and easier and a lot more capabilities.
The small diameter bomb integration, expanded sensor modes, improved communications, all of it points the same direction. The Air Force is not treating the MQ-9 as a legacy system waiting to be replaced. It's still being actively developed, and the people who operate and maintain it are still finding new ways to use it. The MQ-9 Reaper has been flying combat missions for roughly 2 decades, and it remains one of the most capable and cost-effective aircraft in the U.S. Air Force inventory. It doesn't replace what a manned fighter can do, but it does something no manned fighter can match. It stays for hours over the same target, with the crew cycling out on the ground as needed, never fatigued, never at physical risk. That persistent presence is what makes it genuinely difficult for an adversary to operate freely. 1,000 airmen have their fingerprints on every sortie. The sensors track, the weapons are ready, and as the Chief of Staff put it, the enemy has no place to hide. If you served in the RPA community as a pilot, sensor operator, crew chief, weapons troop, intel coordinator, or any other role, drop your story in the comments. What do people consistently get wrong about this mission? Those conversations are what make this community worth building. And if you want to see more content like this, subscribing and sharing this video genuinely helps us get there. See you on the next one.